stores. So I want to share with you a little bit about how this book came to pass. I walked into a hotel room in Phoenix, Arizona in 1990, and I went to a training called the Carousel of Growth run by my teacher of this work, Frank Alper. And I was just really drawn strongly to go to the States, and having never been there before. And he took out a Star of David, and he asked me, well, what's your birth certificate name? And he wrote it on the Star of David at the top. Then he matched it with 22 Hebrew numbers. He matched the sounds of Hebrew to my name in English. And in Hebrew, numbers and letters have the same sound and same symbol. Then he took those Hebrew numbers, which have very specific meanings, and he allocated them around a Star of David. And then from that he did a bit of maths, and from that, in that hour, he explained my entire life, which is what this book is about. So this book is about the manual I would have liked to have had when I arrived here on Earth to explain what life is about, rather than going around lost, which is what I've been doing for 30 years before I came across this work. And so because of that reading, where he explained I'd be a teacher and a writer, I'm here today. So I want to sort of share with you how this process works. How many of you feel that someone hasn't told you something really important? If they haven't told you why you're really here, put your hand up. Yeah. Well, this book is about answering that question. Because what happens is that we feel that, and how many of you feel that life just does things to you and you're not quite sure why things turn up, even though you understand the law of attraction, but stuff still happens? Yeah. And so what happens here is that this book is based on the premise, or the universal principle, that sound is creative. It's based on the principle that sound is creative. Great Spirit, or God, or whatever you want to call it, universal intelligence, created this universe with sound. In the beginning there was a word, but we're not getting too biblical here. And so, out of that movement of Great Spirit, they discovered, through the study of sacred geometry, that movement takes the form of what's called the flower of life. How many of you are familiar with that? Okay. And so, if you work with the geometries of the flower of life, you can extract the sounds of the sacred languages like Hebrew, Tibetan, hieroglyphics, Sanskrit. And so with this system we work with the sacred language of Hebrew, which is literally the movement of Great Spirit in the creation of creation. And so what happens is that each of you, prior to incarnation, reviews all your past lives, as if you believe in them. It still happens even if you don't. And what your soul does in the high dimensions is it basically looks at what are the key themes that I need to work on in the next life. And then you design this life. You choose the genetics, time zone, country, important relationships. You put in place everything you want to achieve in this life. And then you choose a name, a set of vibrations, in the language of whatever culture you've decided to incarnate in. And that name is programmed into your DNA, into your energy fields, and into a substance called karmic matrix, which is like a grey cobweb energy that's woven into you at the 4th, 5th and 6th dimensional levels. And by that we mean different vibrational levels of your being. Because the part of you here now, the part of you you're aware of, is only a small part of the greater part of you. Because ultimately we're all an out-breath of the Creator, with sparks of God consciousness that forgot where we came from. And so the sound of your name emanates from you out into the matrix. How many of you seen the movie? Okay, it's about as close as you get to what's going on here, but it's not, there are no machines, but everything else is pretty close to it. So this work is about explaining what program is on that little mini disc in the matrix for you that creates your reality in each moment. That's why this work is very powerful. So if you convert your name into Hebrew, what you then get is the Hebrew numbers, and then we get 7 aspects of your life coming out of those Hebrew numbers when we decode them on the Star of David. And so, if you can imagine the Star of David, there's a large downward pointing triangle like this. That represents the physical side of life, because you're all each a brand new, I call it an experiment in consciousness. Your soul says, I want to try this, and it projects out a certain energy, and it wants to see, well, let's see what you do with this one, and its soul then has to sit back and experience that lifetime. So you need to learn to walk and talk, get educated, get up and running in life. And that's what we spend the first 5 cycles of 7 years doing, the first 35 years. How many of you have had a midlife crisis or serious spiritual awakening between about 35 and 42, where you sort of looked at everything in your life thinking, it doesn't work anymore, I've got to change everything? Yeah. Because between 35 and 42, which is the 6th cycle of life, the large upward pointing spiritual triangle is awakening. And your soul is saying, okay, you've done enough getting established here, now let's get on with what's really important. And so this is where you seek out, come to this bookstore for example. Victoria told me earlier her life totally changed by coming here. How old were you when that happened?
18.
Okay, so you started early. This awakening can start early. But basically you search for the true meaning, the true purpose. Because in each of us there's a hidden soul purpose, or soul destiny we call it with this work, where we seek to align with that purpose, and it drives us forward no matter what. And the distractions of life often stop us from getting to that. So this work is about getting to what is that soul destiny, and how do you get to it, most importantly. And so within the 2 large triangles, there are 3 aspects of life we work with. We have what we call karma. Does everyone have got an idea what karma is? Yeah? You have what we call talents, which are to overcome your karma. And you have goals, which are like your dreams. And the karma is in both the physical triangle and the spiritual one. So when you first start to become activate in life, your physical karma is triggering for you. So have you noticed you get in life a lot of things you don't like initially, and some of them are pretty unpleasant? There's like a negative context, a challenge occurs a lot. It's because the soul was programmed in from past lives, a lot of unresolved issues that brings them in from the Akashic records. And these unresolved issues are there to create the negative context of your life. Say for example you have a lot of disempowerment. You might bring that in from many lives because you've misused power in those lives. It will bring them in to create a situation where you feel like a victim, or you feel downtrodden. And the whole point of that is so that you can learn to say, I want to step out of this. I want to claim my power. And you go on the journey of coming into your power. So the very tough things that you face in life are actually there for you to turn into, not run away from. Most people run away from their karma. And so because they're not following the flow where their soul wants to take them, life gets hard. You know, they say life gets hard, it's hard and you die, and you come back and do it again. Well, it's because people aren't following flow of spirit. And by that I mean the flow of your higher consciousness, which is the part of you not in the body, which is experiencing viscerally this life. So if you engage with your karmic patterns, which is what we talk about a lot in the book, you can claim the gift of that pattern, and then you take that gift out to the world. So if you were feeling very disempowered, I had that, or very shy, I had that. My gift was to come into my power, overcome shyness, speak, teach, write, to communicate the wisdom of my soul to the world. And so transmuting your karma into your gifts is a key thing, which is this book explains. And when you start doing that, life unfolds. Life goes from being very difficult to flowing much more on what I call the path of bliss, because you're following what we call the spiritual signature. How many of you, when you make decisions, think about it a lot, trying to work out what to do? Yeah. And have you noticed a lot of the time it doesn't work so well? But how many of you feel in your heart what is the right thing to do? When your heart opens to it and you take that decision, it works? It really flows easily? Yeah, that's because your soul's trying to tell you. It's like telling Aitan, go and come and buy Watkins and sort it out. So, would you say you're on the path of the right path here, doing this? Yeah. So, if your heart opens to something, an idea or a concept or a choice in life, that's called following the spiritual signature. And this book is about showing you what is that path. And so you don't do all the things your mind thinks you should do, because 50% of what this thing here says is usually wrong, because this is very deluded, the ego. But if you follow your heart and the communication from the soul, what will happen is that life will open and flow for you, because the soul, the body never lies. The truth isn't here, because this is actually the most intelligent part of you is here. Okay, this thing sort of just thinks it's in charge, but actually it's not really. So we talk about the karmic patterns here a lot, and we talk about the gifts they're going to bring you, and we talk about how you claim them here. And so this is the spiritual map of life, which is why we call it this. And so it also talks about the talents you have, both physically and spiritually, to transmute your karma. All the good stuff, which is programmed in by the soul, how you can activate them, and how you can work through the karmic patterns. And it also shows you what your goals are, what your dreams are. My dreams are connecting with people and just sharing this knowledge. I love doing that. And so it shows you how to use your talents to connect with your dreams, to manifest them in the world. And then if you consciously work through all 6 aspects, that's your physical and spiritual karma, talents and goals, and bring all your gifts online, fully activate your talents, move towards your dreams, then your soul destiny or your life purpose comes much more into consciousness. The universe doesn't sort of drop a big stone slab in front of us at the beginning of life saying, you're here to do this. It's sort of like, it's almost like there's a mist in front of us. We know something's there, but we can't quite get to it. But if you work through the different aspects in your contract, what happens is that the soul destiny or the purpose starts to become apparent to you, and life starts to open. Okay, so we talk about the spiritual structure in the book, about how the matrix actually really works, how to navigate it, and from the book you can generate your own soul contract. You can actually work out your own spiritual map of life, and most importantly, it tells you how to get on that path, how to move forward with that. So you can spend 80% of your effort doing 20% of the things that actually matter, instead of the reverse, which is what most people do. That's what we're trying to do with this. And so this book is really for spiritual seekers who wish to get onto the path, because God sends so many of us, but only so many manage to wake up and clear our egos and come online. The idea here is to maximize your potential in this life. That's what this book is about. Because I've been a therapist for 25 years, and I've watched so many people struggle with their lives, with very, very difficult situations. And I realized I couldn't reach lots of people just by seeing them in person, so I decided to write this book so that they could pick it up and they could actually get on with their lives. Paraphrase that for the microphone. So basically there's a couple, and the man had a dream of his wife coming to him, and she turned up, but they ended up in a lot of conflict. Okay, so, and she wants to have a child. So why did that happen? Well, we set up pre-incarnational contracts beforehand. We agree with other souls that we've been with many lifetimes to learn very specific lessons. And the most powerful lessons are usually learned in relationships. And this is what I call a karmic furnace relationship, where you get into it and you can't get out and you get really cooked. And it's set up by the souls so that, for example, she may need to learn to come into her power with this man. So her issue may be to resolve a power issue where she has to stand up to him, and his violent behaviour could be something where she has to draw a line under. Either she works with him and he calms down or works on the issues emotionally, or she has to, in the end, has to leave and claim her power. And usually these situations are extremely strong for people, and it's very hard to work through. It takes a long time. So if we looked at their 2 contracts, it would be all in the contract. There'd be a lot of disempowering energies, strong drive to have kids, and it'll be very enmeshed. So it's not an accident when these things happen, but the issue is more how you bring consciousness to it and how you actually break free of it. Okay, and so usually early relationships are like this, and it's, if you clear enough of your issues, then the latter ones get better, but if you don't work it out with the first one, it'll repeat itself with the next one. So it's always a good idea to work through your karma consciously. Does that help? So we have to play with it a bit because it's an English to Hebrew translation matrix here. So we're going from a Sanskrit name to English to Hebrew, which is what I'm going to do right here now. So I have to ask you a few questions, Vinay. So let's have a look. So the Star of David here is saying that you had heartbreak as a child from the disempowering family. Okay, and your job, the reason you're indecisive is because you have to make a decision to show the real you to the world rather than the facade.
Yes.
How's that going?
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you show the real you and heal your heart from the wound of childhood, you will draw everything and everyone you need in life to make life happen. How old are you now?
I'm old enough.
No, I'm trying to see on the cycle here. I'm trying to see how far you've got.
I don't know, maybe 43, 44.
Okay, so this is something which should be really be moving forward now.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
It's changing quite a lot rapidly.
Yeah. So let's have a look here. So that's your physical karma. So healing the heart wound will draw all the gifts of life to you, and then you'll become one person by expressing your true feelings and thoughts, and then that'll create a bubble of safety around you. And then everyone around you will either have to open their heart to be with you, or move away, because when the heart opens, it's a very high frequency of love. It's like you walk in a room, when someone says the truth, everyone goes really quiet. If someone says a lie, the frequency drops, and everyone's onto them. This is the former, being in total truth. And so it's saying in physical talents, you've got these eight eights, okay, and this is about the ability to relate to all sorts of people.
Which I do.
Yeah. Do you have good boundaries with people? Good emotional boundaries?
Now I have.
Yeah. So this is about learning to create clear boundaries, and then to actually to visit people over those boundaries, but not get enmeshed in their emotional stuff.
Which I've already talked about before. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's about relating to people. And physical goals, you've got a 22 and 4, and a 22 is all about connecting to source. The lesson is partially to connect to source and share the multidimensional knowledge of source. Are you very versatile at what you can do?
In regards to?
Pretty much anything in life. Can you do lots of different things?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you're here to share that multidimensional flow of source out into the world to serve others. What do you actually do?
Me? You could say I'm corporate sales.
Okay. So do you find with clients that you can mould and shift the offering to them to exactly what they need?
I'll be frank with you. I'm very good at what I do.
Yeah. This is why.
All right. To be frank, I know that already. That's something which you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I know I can sell. I can not sell, persuade, to relate. It's relationship management mainly.
Yeah. Well, this is a good job for you because it's about people. It's about giving them what they need in the right way. So that's the physical part of your chart.
Right.
Okay. And so, how long have you been interested in spirituality? How long has that been going on?
12. Since I was 12. It's been knocking on my door. I've ignored it.
Yeah. Well, you have what's called a 16-7 in. We can put this on the website. You've got what's called a 16-7 in spiritual karma here, and this is about resisting initially the spiritual energy coming in.
Yes.
And getting involved in physical stuff, emotional stuff to avoid it.
Well, I nearly lost my life when I was 23, which changed my life.
Yeah.
Literally.
Did that wake you up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Forced me to wake me up.
Yeah. And so the idea of that 16-7 is to bring the spiritual energy and that knowledge, high consciousness knowledge, and share it in plain English with others. So you're here to work with groups of people. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, now, but beforehand, I'm a lone practitioner.
Yeah. So how do you see that happening? Because there's two of them actually in your chart. There's no one in spiritual talents.
There's
one in spiritual talents here as well.
Right.
So you're actually here to take very high level concepts and get it up to the man in the street. That's what it says here.
Well, I can write about things like that.
Yeah. So how do you do that?
I can blog about it.
Yeah. Are you reaching people?
I have a blog related to work.
Yeah.
To my own stuff, which is to do with location-based services. It's to do with mobile phones and programming.
Okay.
Which is slightly different from that.
Okay. And in spiritual goals, here's a 21-3, which is the divine, what we call the divine mother energies. And that energy is all about having to endure and overcome a lot of hardship to become very strong. Have you done that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's, yeah.
Are you ready to do it the easy way, or do you still need to do it the hard way?
Well, I've had enough of the hard way, to be honest with you. It's quite interesting because this is the bit where it's switch over, it's like a crossroads.
Yeah. So when there's a big boulder out there, which is, I call it the boulder energy, you're used to sort of beating your head against the boulder, or trying to break it
through, yeah.
break it out. So what you do is you go on the side, look for the crack, you put some Semtex and you blow it up from the side and keep moving without having to wear yourself out in the process.
Yeah, well, I have a habit of actually kind of like horns into a boulder, yeah.
Yeah, so just move around the boulder.
Yeah.
Okay. And the soul destiny here, or the three in here, so it's just saying you're here to learn to become worthy, to bring out the deep wisdom of the soul as a communicator and a teacher. That's what it's saying.
Okay.
Okay, so from all this experience you've had, there's a lot of
I'm
wisdom.
shocked. Yeah.
It's communication in some form.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Right.
of deep wisdom.
Well, I'm helping people. I've the last few, literally 6 months, I've helped 2 people.
How do you help them? What do you do?
Training wise, someone she's going to go to Bali to do a yoga course, and she's very good. She's a former ballet professional, proper high level ballet professional, but she had an injury. So for 2 years she's worked in a place that she doesn't like, but it's helped her. Now she's actually going to go to some learn about yoga, but it's affecting her on a spiritual level as well.
Yep.
She's a very clean person. She's got a good heart, very good heart. It's very difficult to find that sort of thing. So that's one example.
Okay, so you're here to help people overcome their challenges, because you've been overcoming your own by the sounds of it.
Yeah, with that, yeah, I've actually worked out myself with that. There's not a relationship. It's actually just quite a business relationship, but it's actually quite a strong friendship at the same time. Whether or not we keep in touch, I am not really that worried.
Yeah.
It's no attachment. It's just learning from the experience.
So it sounds like you're helping her move out of the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm helping myself move out of the past as
Yeah,
well.
because there's the 7th here about letting go of the past. Okay. And the soul destiny, the 9 here, this is dragon energy. The whole point of this life is to come fully into your power.
Yep.
And to empower others and to trust your first gut instinct. You do that now?
Yes, I do.
Did you used to ask everyone else what you should do when you were younger?
Yes.
Do you find your first gut instinct always works?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm doing right now. I'm taking the foolish step of doing something, and yeah, I want to let it go.
Okay. So overall, you're here to open your heart, bring spiritual energies down to help others, move them out of the past, help them overcome their challenges, and really connect with people in the process.
Yeah, I've done that yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
So if you give me your email later, I can send you this chart.
Okay.
So Victoria's asking, which name do you actually use for analysing this? So you need to use the name on the birth certificate. If you're Asian, for example, and there is no birth certificate, it's the primary intention of your parent at the time of naming. Because what happens is that the soul chooses the name, as I said earlier, and then it telepaths to mum and dad. How many of you are parents? Okay. Right. And when you name your kids, there's probably only 2 or 3 names you could have called them, usually. And the reason for that is the soul gives you the illusion of free will choice. So you think you've got a choice. And if you picked any one of those names, including it being changed at the last minute, that would give the soul the experience that it needs. So actually it's the primary parental intention, usually the one that ends up on the birth certificate. Even if there's a spelling mistake, quote, spelling mistake at the registry office, that is the name usually. So any other name after that is like, well, you can think of the birth certificate name as like the cake of your life. It's a primary energy that creates you by the law of attraction. The other names you use are like layers of icing on the cake. They infuse 7 new frequencies into your birth certificate name. And they change you, and they can help you or hinder you or have no effect. That's what we call an overlay of energies. Which is why we have lots of different relationships, different partners, kids, mentors, because they're all transmitting to us in this energy soup their frequencies, which are helping us grow. Or in the case of the example you gave before of the couple in major combat, they're growing through conflict. It means that their energies are clashing all the time between them. And that's how they've chosen to grow. Okay, so the first name is the one that counts, Victoria.
And for example,
Your mother forgot the name, Okay, it means the soul probably blanked her out because they actually wanted your grandmother's name. And so you are carrying, when you get the exact same name as an ancestor, you're actually carrying on the karmic pattern to work it through. That's why if you're junior or the third or the fourth or the fifth, like you have in America, that's really tough because you've got maybe 4 or 5 of them behind you processing their emotional stuff, which is a real load. Okay, so you can become pretty dysfunctional by the time you get to the 4th or 5th. So your soul did that. And if you were adopted, or you had another name change, that's not like another layer of icing on the cake of your birth chart. So you have a different experience. Okay, so it's going to transform what's in the cake in the birth chart. And so your life will go through different phases when you use different names. I changed my name about 6 years ago to the current one from Nicolas Ngan, my birth name, to Nicolas David Ngan. Then all this other stuff started happening, like publishing a book, getting out in the world. And I get to travel around, run workshops, and go on TV shows, all sorts of stuff, which never used to happen, but because the name enabled me to work through my issues much more quickly and attracted the right people and situations to do what I do. Program, which is it's ready for practitioners, but we're starting to open it up. We will open it up to book readers once we've finished it.
Yeah.
Basically, just generates your Star of David.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't give you any interpretations. What it will do is it will produce a PDF, which you can print off, and then you read the book, will explain it. It won't actually give you any interpretations. That's the way it works. The question is basically what's the relationship between this system, or what's the difference between the Soul Contract reading system and conventional numerology, like Pythagorean or Geomancy, you said it? Geomancy, yeah. The system here basically is based on 22 frequencies of Hebrew. There's no allocation of numbers to the English alphabet. Okay? So the 22 numbers we use here are actually Hebrew frequencies that come out of the movement of Great Spirit. And so what we're doing is we're taking the purest frequency you can have, which is basically the movement of Great Spirit or God, and we're matching it to your name, because you're a spark of that, of God consciousness. And from that we actually decode them, just like we did for Vinay on the Star of David. So there's no relationship at all between how this system works and other numerology systems. So it's at a very high level of consciousness, because you're talking about the sounds of God here, which is why if you do your charts, like Vinay found it's very accurate, because it's not lost its consciousness in any way. But all systems are, there are many ways of actually finding out who we are and how to awaken. And that's why there's so many different healing modalities and numerology systems. So you can't reconcile the two systems here.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay. What are the systems that I investigated? Yeah. With my spiritual path, I just knew there was something important to do, and I manifested this. I got drawn to the system, and as soon as I started using it, I realized I've got to learn how to do this. And then I hadn't been my plan to learn about this, but I went for an initial workshop in Arizona. Then the one talking about this work was 6 weeks later, so I thought, okay, I'll stay 6 more weeks. So I was just traveling around the world at the time. Actually, I've looked at some of the other systems, but I find, for me, it resonates with me the most.
Right,
okay, because everyone is drawn to certain ways of awakening, and no one system is better than the other. And that pathway that each of us takes is unique, and it's about following your nose. And this one really resonated with me, so I went with this one. Okay. Layer of icing. So you have to be very careful what you choose, because you could choose a name if you don't do it consciously, which is going to be detrimental to you. So people take names very casually, but they're very critical. Okay, when we, for example, name the book here, my publishing consultant and Watkins, we spent a lot of time debating the title, because that title is optimized so it literally jumps off the bookshelf, which it does. People tell me they come into the shop here and it jumps, they have a few other books in their hand, this jumps off the shelf and they put the others down and they buy that one. So we use it very effectively like this. So if you have the right name, you can attract all the right things to you. If you don't have the right name, it's not going to be so good, you see. So we go through a process of what we call name optimization to maximize your potential by infusing the right frequency, so you work through what's on your birth chart. Language that was intended at the time. Even if there was a mistake, that mistake's not a mistake.
That's the name I'm supposed to go by.
That's the name that will tell you what your primary soul contract is. But if you've moved and your name's pronounced differently, say here or in France, the soul planned that as well. Okay, because that set of frequencies is actually helping you grow in a very specific way. Yeah, we look at actually what we call overlay readings, which is not in the first book because there wasn't room, but it'll be in a subsequent book where we talk about relationships and how, and with other people and with your own names. If you have different names through time, it shows you actually how the relationship soup works, and why we have conflict, why we have peace, why life can accelerate if you have the right name. So I do that sort of thing. And I run a business consultancy that works with corporates and branding, and we basically, they want to know how to align themselves. It's really spiritual intelligence is moving into business. They want to know how to align for maximum fulfillment, not just making money now because they realize it's not working, for fulfillment and for the staff and purpose and getting to their goals. Plus they want to make some money obviously along the way because they've got a bunch of shareholders. So we use this technology for that. We use it for naming the book here.
And so you have a way.
A child was about to be named, and her brother came up with a name which would have been the soul of the baby communicating through in some way. Okay, and then the parents have made one final change to the name at the very last minute. All of that process is by design. It's all by design to ensure the soul of the new child gets the right name. And 99% of the time people get the right name.
So does she have the right name?
Somehow, in the process of naming a baby, usually most people get the right name. Even if an uncle changes the middle name at the last minute, that was meant to happen. Okay.
That's a pretty ridiculous.
What happens is that the soul is making sure it gets the core latent potential laid down. Okay, so it's not really fatalistic. It's a fair comment though. Basically what you're doing is you're laying down latent potential for the lifetime. You press go, and the soul sits back and says, well, what's going to happen now? Because you as a personality are in charge, and you've got to decide, will I flow with my contract, if you're conscious of it, or will I just do what my ego wants to do, which usually leads to disaster, as most of you know. Okay, and so the actual experience of each person's life is not predetermined. It's just a general direction which the contract will show you where you can go. Because the whole point of it is because spirit, each of us is a spark of God consciousness. We're actually the creator creating in a very specific way. And the creator wants to learn more about, say, empowerment with someone who's got very disempowered in a relationship. And the process of living life viscerally is the creator learning about power again. The creator's not creating out there in the universe doing its thing, and we're just sort of little blobs doing our little thing. We are the creator creating through our lives. And it's the rich mix of what we do in each moment, which is creation creating. That's actually what's going on. And the creator doesn't put anything in place that it doesn't know. If it knows about it, there's no point in doing it. So your individualized experience, however you wish to live your life, is the creator learning more about itself. And that's stored in the Akashic records, which is the memory of the creator creating. Okay, so you have total free will to do what you wish with this. But if you learn what your contract is and follow it, then life will take on a completely different light. It will flow much more because you won't be doing the things which don't work. Reuben, once you've set the contract in place and incarnated, can you change it partway through? No, you can't. It's hardwired.
For the whole
There's no money. You don't get a money. There's no money back guarantee. You've got to stick it out till you ascend or we physically die. But if you're conscious of the contract and apply the knowledge which this work gives you in terms of how do you work through it, then life will flow more easily. If you optimize your name, okay, with the right frequencies to break through the contract a lot quicker and get you to the deepest soul goals, what happens is your life will accelerate and become something completely different. So you can change it that way.
So optimize
Professionally and personally. And then you go into meditation and you ask Great Spirit, give me a name. Give an example. I said I wanted a name to get me out there on my mission. And I tried all the Hebrew names, all the real long, fancy ones, and nothing was coming out, was any good. So I thought, I'm wasting my time here. Then the client wrote to me twice in 2 weeks and called me David. And when I heard the second David, I thought, better pay attention here, which is the simplest Hebrew name you can have. So I put it in the middle, and it was perfect, but it wasn't what I thought it would be, but it was just what I needed. So you already have that name in you. It's just about working out how to get to it and converging on what's already there, because it's already in the plan. The fact that you've heard about it today means your soul saying, pay attention, Reuben. There's something for you. A certain name, and you've got to live with it. Why change it partway through? Well, it's because if you find out that a name optimization process is available, your soul's trying to tell you. What's your name? So Tricia, it's trying to tell you, because you just manifested me to talk about it, that there's an opportunity to change your life. Because if you weren't meant to do it, you'd continue with the name you had. You wouldn't have heard about this. But you're all here for a reason, because you wanted to learn something. Your soul's trying to give you another piece of the puzzle of life. Like, people only find this book when they're ready. Otherwise it blanks them out. They can't actually get access to it. That's what I've discovered. And people either get it, or they give it 1 star on Amazon and say, I don't understand this thing at all, because they're not ready. It's either 1 star or 5 stars, or 4 or 5. It's a really interesting phenomenon that we've noticed. Because you've got to reach a certain level of consciousness and growth to better handle the powerful truth of this. Okay? Because what happens with a book is that people start reading it. Average read time is 24 to 72 hours. Some people don't go to sleep. They just start it and they don't stop when they realize what it is. It's the answer to what they wanted to know their whole life. So you're all here for a reason. So if that's there, and the opportunity to transform your life is right there with this work. And there's a belief in the matrix that you've got your karma, and you've got to sleep in. You made your bed, you've got to sleep in with it. Sleep in it. Actually, it's not the case. You can actually transform it a lot faster with this sort of spiritual knowledge. And it becomes available because you're given the choice. Do you want to go quicker, more easily, or do you want to do it the hard way? I mean, it's a pretty simple answer, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You don't have to process all the karma. This is a very much faster way of getting through it. You've got to be conscious of it. There's no need to suffer any more than necessary in the process. Okay, I put it on all written documents, which is a struggle sometimes with bank cards, because they say you can't have it, they abbreviate it. But everything written, if you make it consistently the same name, then the new vibration radiates out to the matrix, and you're creating a completely different life. In the UK, because you are who you say you are, so you can change your name in the UK. It's different for different countries. The question was if you change your name, it has an energy effect on people. That's very much the case. So it's a question of making sure you change it so it's attracting to the right sort of people you want to have in your life or your business. And that's clearly working in the corporate environment there. If this lady, what's your name? Laura. Nora. Sorry.
Nora.
Okay, so Nora Angela's talking about dropping her surname and just going with Nora Angela.
No, I'd want to.
Yeah.
But I haven't done it.
Yeah. So that would be an overlay effect. So if you're getting that regularly, every day, your soul's trying to tell you, check this out, because that may be what you need. It's a hint, especially when you have that strong urge. But you need to check it to make sure that actually it does what the overlay effect is going to give you what you need in life.
How do you check that out?
Well, that's the name optimization process, or at least what we call an overlay reading process. The book only handles birth charts, but you need a practitioner to actually check that out, or I can check that out. The question is that Reuben had a name come to him in several different ways, including the meaning of its expression for naming his daughter. So that's your daughter's soul trying to give you the message, say, come on Dad, it's got to be this, making blatantly clear this is what it wants. You see, when my son was named, we used the system to try and work out a name so his karma would be minimized and his potential would be maximized. And so actually, we didn't have the middle name, but in the ward across from his mum, there was a Spanish lady, and she called her son Jonah. And my wife heard that, and she said, "That's the name, Nicholas. Go and check it." And because we've been trying for months to get this name right, and we tried it, and it was perfect. It gave him maximum power to burn through his karmic patterns, so we'd have a life that would be graceful and easy, which is what he's had after nearly 15 years, rather than having a struggle. So it was really obvious to us because you couldn't miss it. Same idea. Okay. Any other questions? If a woman doesn't take her husband's name when she gets married. A couple of issues here. Usually a woman is standing in her power, but also she may intuitively feel the name is not good for her energetically if she takes that name. Okay. Sometimes it's good for a woman to take the husband's name because it could help her with an overlay effect of working through some serious challenges in her life. So it just depends on the situation. depends on the situation. Find the names.
Yes, for both.
Yes, so what happens, I've had people do this. Often, if it's meant to happen, it actually gives them really optimal names if you do it properly. Okay, I've had a couple of friends do this, and it actually works really well for both of them.
And the order changes whether which one is before the other or not? Or
It has to be in a specific order, but it has to be checked properly. I wouldn't go off and do this casually because you don't know what you're going to get. Okay, so
But sometimes it comes
like
to-
Frank Alper,
Right, yeah.
and they're like portals. Okay, and if you do your chart and you draw the symbols out
Yeah.
and look at them, they will talk to you. You all seem pretty sensitive. They will literally talk to you, and you will feel what the number means. Okay, and if you look at the text, so your mental body gets it, and you feel the symbols. If you draw your Star of David, or if you use the software, it prints it out for you anyway. You will understand a lot more of who you are. Okay, we put the symbols on the front of the book to attract the right people who are ready for the work. So that's the reason they're on the book. So there's lots of spiritual magic in the way we design the book. Okay, so it's all about vibration, but a vibration to raise consciousness. Okay, that's the way we did it.